Hello students, welcome to the class. In this chapter, you will explore about input devices, output devices, computer memory and classification of computers. Now we will explore all the components of a computer system one by one, starting with input devices. Most commonly used input devices are keyboards, pointing devices, scanners, and audio voice capture devices like microphone. Before we start discussing it one by one, let's hear a conversation between Ramesh and Suresh. Hello Ramesh. Hi Suresh. You look thoughtful. What happened? Yes Suresh, I am a bit confused in input and output devices. Please help me out. Okay Ramesh, wait. Let me explain through an example. Take example of human body. Information enters the brain through eyes, ears, nose, tongue and skin. Similarly, in a computer, information enters through input devices like keyboard, mouse, etc. So, suppose I am watching television, remote control and its buttons must be input devices. Correct. And monitor and speakers are output devices, through which we can receive information from a computer or TV. Printer is also an output device because it gives you print output. Wait a second, then what about human brain? Is it input or output device? None of them. Our brain is just like a CPU, which connects input and output devices. Imagine if you disconnect keyboard or printer from CPU, will keyboard key still give input to computer? Will you still get printouts from computer? No, I guess. Absolutely. All input and output devices needs to be connected to CPU, which controls them, processes information given by the input devices and sends the result to the output devices. Things seems to be clearer now. Thanks Suresh. Now let's talk about keyboard. Keyboard is most commonly used input device. It's a typewriter-like device which is used to type in the letters, digits and commands. It contains matrix of switches, one switch per key. Each pressed key sends a digital code to CPU that determines which key has been pressed. Computers decode the digital code and determine the pressed key. Now we will learn about keyboard layout. While you learn about different keys, you can pause and try to understand the function of each key by pressing it on your computer and see what happens. Keyboard basically merges a traditional typewriter keyboard with a number pad and few special purpose keys such as arrow keys, F1 to F12 function keys. Done. Navigation keys. A keyboard key used to move the cursor or pointer around on the screen. They include the 4 arrow keys, page up, page down, home and end keys. Then there are function keys, which are shortcuts to different tasks depending on the application. F1 is standard shortcut for help menu. There are 12 function keys. Windows key is a standard key on most keyboards on computers using Windows operating system. Windows logo is displayed on this key. This key is placed between Control and Alt keys and it brings up the Start menu in Windows. The Control and Alt keys are called combination keys, which allows certain operation by pressing along with other keys. Toggle keys. The keys that toggle the input between two different input modes. It is similar to a light switch which turns light on or off. Most common toggle keys are caps lock, number lock, scroll lock and insert key. Caps lock toggle the letter keys between lowercase and uppercase. Number lock is used to toggle input from letters to numbers. Let's have a look at some of the special keys present on keyboard. Windows key will bring up the Start menu in Windows. Other special keys, which is Shift, Caps Lock, Control, Alt, Escape, Enter, Print Screen, Delete, Insert, Home, End, Page Up and Page Down. Now let's see how to position your hands correctly on a keyboard for typing and computing purpose. Ideally, your hands should be positioned as shown in the image. Left hand fingers should be placed on ASDF keys and right hand fingers on JKL and semicolon. Thumbs can be placed to use spacebar. Do you know, for security purposes, some keyboards include a fingerprint reader, which allows you to work with the computer only if your fingerprint is recognized. In QWERTY keyboard, the first letters on the top alphabetic line spell QWERTY. Another category of input device is pointing device, which is an input interface that allows a user to input data to a computer. Graphical user interface, that is GUI, allow the user to control and provide data to the computer by moving a handheld mouse or similar device across the surface of the physical desktop and activating switches on the mouse. Movements of the pointing device are echoed on the screen by movements of the pointer and other visual changes. Common gestures are point and click and drag and drop. Some common pointing devices are mouse, trackball, touchpad, trackpoint, graphics tablet, joystick and touchscreen. Pointing devices are connected to a PC via a USB port. The most common pointing device used is mouse. Earlier, mouse had a ball in the bottom of the mouse which rolls on the surface. As we move the mouse, internal rollers sense the movement of ball and transmit the information to the computer through the mouse cord. The modern optical mouse does not use a rolling ball, but instead use a light and small sensor to detect the motion of the mouse by tracking a small image of the desk surface. A cordless or wireless mouse interconnects with the computer via radio waves. Mouse can also be described as a hand-operated electronic device that controls the coordinates of a cursor on your computer screen as you move it around on a mousepad. On the bottom of the device is a ball that rolls on the surface of the mousepad. A mouse may also include scroll wheels to enable users to work together with GUI, that is, Graphical User Interface. The traditional PC mouse has 2 buttons, while the Macintosh mouse has 1 button. As we go ahead, you will get to know actual use of mouse while working on operating system. Touchpad is small, flat, rectangular pointing device sensitive to pressure and motion. Most of the laptops are equipped with a touchpad pointing device. User moves the on-screen cursor by sliding finger along the surface of the touchpad. The left or right click buttons are located below the pad. Touchpads have advantage over mouse that they take much less room to use. Also, they do not have any moving parts. Trackpoint. Some sub-notebook computers such as IBM ThinkPad, which lack room even for a touchpad, incorporates a track point, which is a small rubber projection embedded amid the keys of the keyboard. The track point acts like a small joystick that can be used to control the position of the cursor. Trackball is stationary pointing device with a ball on its top or side to move screen pointer. Rotate ball with thumb, fingers or palm of hand. The trackball is like an upside down mouse with the ball located on the top. We use fingers to roll the trackball, and internal rollers sense the motion which is transmitted to the computer. Trackball has the advantage over mouse that the body of the trackball remains stationary on the desk. We don't need much room to use the trackball. Nowadays, optical trackballs are available which don't have rollers, and there is no problem of dirt in its wheels. Joysticks. Joysticks are also pointing devices which are frequently used in computer games and simulators. Different types of joysticks or game controllers are available in market. Graphics tablet, also digitizer, digital drawing tablet, pen tablet, digital artboard is a computer input device that enables a user to hand draw images, animations and graphics with a special pen-like stylus, similar to the way a person draws images with a pencil and paper. These tablets may also be used to capture data or handwritten signatures. It can also be used to trace an image from a piece of paper which is stabbed or otherwise secured to the tablet surface. Capturing data in this way by tracing or entering the corners of linear polylines or shapes is called digitizing. Light pen is a pointing device shaped like a pen and is connected to a VDU, that is, Visual Display Unit. The tip of the light pen contains a light-sensitive element which, when placed against the screen, detects the light from the screen, enabling the computer to identify the location of the pen on the screen. Scanner is a light-sensing device that reads printed text and graphics used for image processing and converts paper documents into electronic images. Basically, there are three main types of scanner: flatbed scanner, sheet-fed scanner, and handheld scanner. Friends, let's understand the basic features of these scanners. A flatbed is a type of a scanner or copier that uses a flat glass surface for scanning documents or other objects. Most flatbed scanners have an adjustable lid that can be raised to allow magazines, books, and other thick objects to be scanned. Sheet-fed scanner, also referred to as an automatic document scanner or ADF scanner, is a digital imaging system specifically designed for scanning loose sheets of paper. Widely used by businesses to scan office documents and less frequently used by archives and libraries to scan books that have been disbound or other robust unbound documents. Sheet-fed scanners may be compared in terms of the paper weight and size they are capable of handling, duty cycle rating, speed, that is pages per minute, and duplex capability. Handheld scanner, that is moved by hand over the material being captured. Handheld scanners are small and less expensive than their desktop counterparts, but partially rely on the user's dexterity to move the unit across the paper. Trays are available that keeps the scanner moving in a straight line. Optical recognition device uses light source to read characters, marks, and codes and then converts them into digital data. Types of optical recognition devices are OCR, OMR, and barcode. OCR devices read specially pre-printed characters, such as WEN scanners, seen in retail stores. OMR devices sense the presence or absence of marks, common for test scoring, such as the SAT and GRE test, such as the SAT and GRE test. But code is a set of lines of different thicknesses that represent a number. Barcode readers are used to input data from barcodes. Most products in shops have barcodes on them. You can visit any local departmental store and see live demonstration of the same. Barcode readers work by shining a beam of light on the lines that make up the barcode and detecting the amount of light that is reflected back. Similarly, MICR, that is, magnetic ink character recognition, is a technique in which machine recognizes numeric data printed with magnetically charged ink. MICR readers detect the characters and convert them into digital data. Although optical methods, that is OCR, becomes as sophisticated as the early MICR technology, magnetic ink is still used. It serves as a deterrent to fraud because a photocopied check will not be printed with magnetic ink. It is used on bank checks and deposit slips. Speech recognition is a type of input in which the computer recognizes words spoken into a microphone. Latest technology uses continuous speech recognition, where the user does not have to pause between words. Basically, there are two types of cameras: digital camera and web camera. Let's discuss about these cameras. Digital camera is a camera that encodes digital images and videos digitally and stores them for later reproduction. Most cameras sold today are digital, and digital cameras are incorporated into many devices ranging from PDAs and mobile phones. Webcam is a video camera that feeds or streams its image in real time through a computer-to-computer network. When captured by the computer, the video stream may be saved, viewed, or sent on to other networks via systems such as the internet and email as an attachment. When sent to a remote location, the video stream may be saved, viewed, or on send there. Unlike an IP camera, which connects using Ethernet or Wi-Fi, a webcam is generally connected by a USB cable or similar cable or built into computer hardware such as laptops. Let's come to output devices now. Output can be described as any computer-generated information displayed on screen, printed on paper or in machine-readable form, such as disk and tape. Output devices are peripheral devices that enable us to view or hear the computer's processed data. Output can be audio as well as visual. Visual outputs include text, graphics, and video. Audio output includes sounds, music, and synthesized speech. Most common output devices are monitors, printers, and speakers. We will discuss each of them one by one. Monitor is a computer display or is an electronic visual display for computers. The display device in modern monitors is typically a thin film transistor liquid crystal display, that is TFT LCD, or a flat panel LED display, while older monitors used a cathode ray tubes, that is CRT. It can be connected to the computer via VGA, DVI, HDMI, DisplayPort, Thunderbolt, LVDS, that is low voltage differential signaling, or other proprietary connectors and signals. Talking about the monitors, CRT, that is cathode ray tube, a vacuum tube used as a display screen in a computer monitor or TV. The viewing end of the tube is coated with phosphorus, which emit light when struck by electrons. In the past, CRT was a popular term for a computer display terminal. Today, monitor is the correct term as computer displays have long since migrated from CRTs to LCD panels. Likewise, flat panel TV sets no longer use CRTs. A flat panel monitor usually uses an LCD, that is liquid crystal display screen, to show output from the computer, tablet, smartphone or TV. The first flat panels appeared on laptops in the mid-1980s, and LCD is today the standard for computer displays. For TV viewing, LCD, LED and OLED are the competing technologies, and plasma TVs are no longer made. LCD LED is the most widely used and OLED is the latest. LED, that is light emitting diode, and plasma displays are also flat panel technologies, but LCDs are most popularly used in computers, especially in laptops. Flat panel displays are much lighter and less bulky than CRT monitors. The latest LCD screens use transparent thin film transistors, that is TFT, controlling each pixel, so the picture quality and viewing angle are much improved. LED monitors use light-emitting diodes that acts as a performance booster in the monitors. Basically, LED monitors are the LCD monitors with a LED backlight to power up the LCD panel. Resolution is the number of horizontal and vertical pixels on a display screen. The more pixels, the more information is visible without scrolling. For instance, screen resolutions 1600 into 1200 means 1600 horizontal pixels and 1200 vertical pixels. Resolution is defined as a matrix of pixels per inch. A screen resolution of 1920 into 1200 means 1920 pixels horizontally across each of 1200 lines, which run vertically from top to bottom. Very often, a third number is added to the specification to designate colors. For example, 1920 into 1200 into 64K indicates a setting of 64,000 colors. However, the third number may also be the refresh rate. For example, 1280 into 1024 into 60 means 1280 into 1024 pixels at 60 Hz. That is refreshed 60 times per second. SVGA is Super VGA, a resolution of 800 into 600, 1024 into 768, 1280 into 1024 and 1600 into 1200 pixels. In the 1980s, VESA increased IBM's VGA display standard from 640 into 480 to 800 into 600 and coined the Super VGA term. XGA is Extended Graphics Array, an interlaced screen resolution of 1024 into 768 pixels introduced in 1990 by IBM. Supporting 256 colors, XGA extended VGA's text mode from 80 to 132 columns. XGA was later enhanced to non-interlaced and 64,000 colors. Over the years, vendors added numerous resolutions that were fractions or multiples of the total number of pixels in XGA. Useful tip: you should ideally position the monitor screen about 20 degrees below eye level. Clean the screen regularly and blink your eyes in every 5 seconds. Printer is device that converts computer output into printed images. Printers provide information in a permanent readable format, also known as hard copy. Usually, output is printed on a paper. The printer output quality is measured in terms of DPI, that is, dots per inches. The printers can be classified broadly into impact and non-impact printers. Impact printer is a printer that uses a printing mechanism that bangs the character image into the ribbon and onto the paper. Impact printers are of two types: character printer and line printer. Character printers usually print one character at a time. Most popular examples are dot matrix and daisy wheel printers. Dot matrix printers are small electromagnetically activated pins in the print head and inked ribbon to produce images by impact. These printers are noisy and comparatively slow. These are used in big businesses where continuous printing is to be done on 80 columns and 132 columns stationary. For example, 9 pinheads produce draft quality text, while 24 pinheads produce typewriter quality output. Speeds range from 200 to 400 characters per second, that is CPS, which is approximately 90 to 180 lines per minute, that is LPM. Line matrix printers, on the other hand, print a complete line at a time. Traditionally, line printers were characterized as chain printers and drum printers. These types of printers use a print head consisting of pins which are moved by electromechanical mechanism to strike a ribbon placed between printer head and the paper where the output needs to be printed. Their speed varies from 200 to 2000 lines per minute, depending on the type of printing properties. Another category of printers is non-impact printer, in which printers print without banging a ribbon onto paper. Laser, LED, inkjet, solid ink, thermal wax transfer, and dye sublimation printers are examples of non-impact printers. Non-impact printers are usually faster than impact printers and work very quietly. Some of the popular non-impact printers are inkjet printers, laser printers, thermal printers, and plotter. The most common type of printer for home uses is color inkjet printer. These printers form the image of the page by spraying small droplets of ink from the print head. The printer needs several colors of ink to make color images. These printers are comparatively cheaper, but the cost of consumables makes them costly to operate in the long run. Today, almost all inkjet printers produce color. Low-end inkjets use 3 ink colors: cyan, magenta, and yellow, but produce a composite black that is often muddy. 4-color inkjets, that is CMYK, use black ink for pure black printing. Laser printer produces good quality images for office and business purposes. A drum coated with photosensitive material is charged, and then an image is written onto it by a laser or LED. The drum then rolls through the toner, and the toner is then deposited onto the paper, and then fused into the paper with heat. Most laser printers are monochrome, that is one color, black only. But more expensive laser printers with multiple color toner cartridges produce multicolor output. These printers are faster than inkjet printers. Their speed is measured in pages per minute, that is ppm. Direct thermal printer is low to medium resolution printer that uses a type of coated paper that darkens when heat is applied to it. The paper is passed by a line of heating elements that burn dots onto the paper. This is typically used in barcode printers and other small specialty printers like ATMs for printing slips. It was also widely used in early fax machines. Printing cost is high and hence is being used for only professional arts and design works purpose. Plotters are used to print high-quality vector graphics, that is, engineering drawings, building plans, circuit diagrams, etc., under the control of computer. They use ink pens or inkjet to draw graphics or drawings. They are generally drum plotter and flatbed plotter. These print in black and white or color, and some handle paper up to 6 feet wide. Do you know a printout in portrait orientation is taller than it is wide, with information printed across the shorter width of the paper. A printout in landscape orientation is wider than it is tall, with information printed across the widest part of the paper. Speakers are also output devices which convert analog audio signals into the equivalent air vibrations in order to make audible sound. When CRT monitors were the norm, speakers designed for computers were shielded to avoid magnetic interference with the CRT's magnetic coil. Speaker is a part of the multimedia computer. Speakers contain amplifiers which vibrate to produce the sound and gives audio output. Projector is a device that projects computer output onto a white or silver fabric screen that is wall, ceiling or tripod mounted. It is widely used for instruction and slide presentations. Projectors are designed primarily to display movies. To project the computer output to a large number of people, multimedia projectors are used. It is also widely used in classrooms and auditoriums for showing presentations and corporate meetings. Now there are some devices which have the capability of being used as input as well as output. Some of the popular input-output devices are fax machine, multifunctional devices, that is MFD, modem touchscreen displays, digital cameras, etc. Fax machine translates a document into a series of zeros and ones, also known as a bitmap, that can be transferred like normal computer data. On the receiving side, a fax machine receives the incoming data, translates the zeros and ones back into dots and reprints the picture, thus serve as both input and output device. Multifunction device perform a variety of functions that would else be carried out by separate peripheral devices. A multifunction peripheral combine a minimum two of the following: a printer, a scanner and a copier. Example of such device is a multifunctional printer. Modem is a device which converts analog signals received over the telephone line to digital signal, which may be used as input for a computer. Similarly, it transmits information received from a computer over the telephone lines. You will learn more about modem while learning internet. MIDI, that is Musical Instrument Digital Interface, a standard protocol for the interchange of musical information between musical instruments, synthesizers and computers. MIDI was developed to allow the keyboard of one synthesizer to play notes generated by another. It defines codes for musical notes as well as button, dial and pedal adjustments. And MIDI control messages can orchestrate a series of synthesizers, each playing a part of the musical score. MIDI version 1.0 was introduced in 1983. Terminal is an input-output device for a computer that has a keyboard and mouse for input and a video screen for output. Dumb terminal is display terminal that provides keyboard input and screen output and no data processing capability. Dumb terminals flourished in the days of mini-computers and mainframes. Touchscreen is an input device normally layered on the top of an electronic visual display of an information processing system. A user can give input or control the information processing system through simple or multi-touch by touching the screen with a special stylus or pen and or one or more fingers. Some touchscreens use ordinary or specially coated gloves to work, while others use a special stylus or pen only. Touchscreens allows the user to directly touch the screen to select icons, buttons and menus. They are easy to use for non-technical people. Frequently used at restaurants, stores and ATM machines. Computer memory is just like a human brain. It is used to store data and information. Computer memory is the storage space where data and instructions which are to be processed are kept. Memory is primarily of three types: cache memory, primary memory or main memory, and secondary memory. Students, let's see the categorization and flow of computer memory now. Computer memory is mainly divided into three parts, that is, cache memory, primary memory and secondary memory. Primary memory is further divided into two parts as ROM and RAM. ROM can be further classified into three categories as PROM, EPROM and EEPROM. RAM is categorized into two types, that is DRAM and SRAM. DRAM, that is dynamic RAM, has three categories that are SDRAM, RDRAM and DDR-RAM. Let's discuss all these types in detail one by one. Cache memory, also called a CPU cache, is a memory bank that bridges main memory and the processor. Cache memory is a very high-speed semiconductor memory which may speed up the CPU and the main memory. It is used to contain those parts of data and program which are most frequently used by the CPU. The parts of data and programs are transmitted from disk to cache memory by operating system from where CPU can access them. Instructions and data are transferred from main memory to the cache in fixed blocks, known as cache lines, using a look-ahead algorithm. Memory is an essential part of every computer. RAM is the main memory of computer. Memory is classified into two categories, RAM and ROM. RAM, Random Access Memory, is the main memory of any computer, smartphone or tablet. RAM is the temporary workspace where instructions are executed and data are processed. What makes RAM random access is its capability of reading and writing any single byte. This byte addressability differs from storage devices such as hard disks and flash memory chips, which read and write sectors containing multiple bytes. In addition, RAM is used as a temporary space for the software, while storage is permanent until deleted by the user. Types of RAM. Types of RAM are dynamic RAM, that is DRAM, and static RAM, that is SRAM. Dynamic RAM is most common type of computer memory and generally available today in the form of synchronous dynamic RAM chips. Most all volatile memory is dynamic RAM because it uses only one transistor and one storage capacitor for each bit. It is denser and much less costly than static RAM. It's a faster counterpart. Type of dynamic RAM are SDRAM, RDRAM, DDR-RAM. Talking about SDRAM. SDRAM, that is synchronous DRAM, is a type of dynamic RAM memory chip that has been widely used since the mid-1990s. SDRAM eliminated wait states by dividing the chip into two cell blocks and interleaving data between them. While a bit in one block is accessed, a bit in the other is prepared for access. DDR, that is double data rate. In 2000, DDR SDRAM doubled the data transfer rate by using both the rising and falling edges of the clock cycle. The data rate of each DDR generation is faster than the previous, with a six-fold increase from DDR1 to DDR4. In addition, less power is required. In order to prevent inserting the wrong DDR into the motherboard, DDR memory modules are keyed differently. In order to prevent inserting the wrong DDR into the motherboard, DDR memory modules are keyed differently. RDRAM, that is Rambus DRAM, pronounced RDRAM, that is Rambus DRAM, a dynamic RAM chip technology from Rambus. INC DOT, Los Altos, CA Rambus licensed its memory designs to semiconductor companies, which manufactured the chips. Starting in the mid-1990s, RDRAM was used in video games and Windows PCs and competed with DDR SDRAM. Intel was an early champion of RDRAM, but began to phase out support in 2001. Static RAM is fast memory technology that requires power to hold its content. Static RAM, that is SRAM, S-RAM, is used for high-speed registers, caches, and relatively small memory banks such as a frame buffer on a display adapter. In contrast, the main memory in a computer is typically dynamic RAM, that is DRAM. Static RAM chips have access times in the 10 to 30 nanosecond range, while dynamic RAM is usually above 50 nanoseconds. ROM, read-only memory, a memory chip that permanently stores instructions and data. Its content is created in the last masking stage of the chip manufacturing process, and it cannot be changed. Standalone ROM chips and ROM banks in microcontroller chips are used to hold control routines for myriad applications. ROMs were also widely used to hold the BIOS in early PCs as well as plug-in cartridges for video games. Types of ROM are PROM, EPROM, and EEPROM. PROM, that is programmable ROM, is a permanent memory chip in which the content is created, that is programmed by the customer rather than by the chip manufacturer. It differs from a ROM chip, which is created at the time of manufacture. PROMs are used for storage when their content is not expected to change. But in many applications, they have given way to EPROMs and EEPROMs, which can be reprogrammed. EPROM, that is erasable programmable ROM, a rewritable memory chip that holds its content without power. EPROM chips are written on an external programming device before being placed on the circuit board. The chip requires an expensive ceramic chip package with a small quartz window that is covered with opaque, sticky tape. For reprogramming, the chip is extracted from the circuit board. The tape is removed and it is placed under an intense ultraviolet, that is UV light, for approximately 20 minutes. EEPROM, that is electrically erasable programmable ROM, a rewritable memory chip that holds its content without power. EEPROMs are bit or byte addressable at the write level, which means either the bit or byte must be erased before it can be rewritten. In flash memory, which evolved from EEPROMs and is almost identical in architecture, an entire block of bytes must be erased before writing. In addition, EEPROMs are typically used on circuit boards to store small amounts of instructions and data, whereas flash memory modules hold gigabytes of data for digital camera storage and hard disk replacements. Storage is permanent holding place for digital data until purposely erased. Storage implies a repository that retains its content without power. Now let's have a look at this diagram, which shows secondary storage devices hierarchy. The capacity of these storage devices is measured in KBs, MBs, GBs or TBs. There are various kinds of secondary storage mediums, starting with hard disks. Hard disk is primary computer storage medium which is made of one or more aluminium or glass platters coated with a ferromagnetic material. Although the terms hard disk and hard drive are used synonymously, technically the disk spins inside the drive. All computers have an internal hard disk for storage, and hard disks in external cases can be plugged into a USB, FireWire or eSATA port for additional storage. Slowly but surely, however, hard disks are being replaced by non-mechanical drives. Sector is the smallest unit of data that is written to and read from a storage drive. The initial hard disk sector sizes were 128 and 256 bytes long, but were later increased to 512. Eventually, sectors were enlarged to the advanced format size of 4096 bytes. Sector interleave is the way sectors are numbered on a hard disk. Created with a low-level format, the optimum interleave is determined by the speed of the drive. CD, that is compact disc, an optical digital audio disc that contains up to 74 minutes of hi-fi stereo sound. Introduced in the US in 1983. The disc is a plastic platter of 122 mm by 4.75 diameter recorded on one side, with individual tracks playable in any sequence. Its storage capacity is from 650 MB to 700 MB. CDs can be played in CD, CD-ROM, CDR, CDRW, and most DVD drives. Types of compact discs are CD-ROM, used only to store information, not data. They come with a reported speed of 48x to 75x. CDR. These can be written onto only once, though you can write it in multiple sessions. CDRW. You can write and read so many times on these discs. DVD is standard definition, that is SD, optical disc format. Introduced in the US in 1997 and developed by the computer and movie industries. The disc has the same 120 mm by 4.75 diameter as a CD, but holds 4.7 GB rather than 700 MB. Whereas CDs use only one side. DVDs can be recorded on both sides as well as in dual layers. DVD first stood for digital video disc, then digital versatile disc, and finally just DVD. In practice, DVD refers to all the following DVD formats. Most modern DVD drives read and write all CD and DVD formats, except for DVD-RAM, which requires its own drive. Blu-ray disc is expected to replace existing DVDs in the future. These discs also use a laser beam for recording with the additional capability to store high-density data. It has the storage capacity varying from 50 GB to 500 GB. Types of DVD. DVD-ROM, that is Digital Versatile Disc, read-only memory. Optical disc can store 4.7 to 17 GBs. These were originally developed for movie industry. DVD-R can be written once and then read as longer as they are alive. DVD-RW. It can be written many times. Let's talk about formatting of storage media now. Formatting. All discs must be formatted before data can be written onto them. Formatting means marking and dividing the disk into tracks and sectors. Formatting is of two types. High-level format, a set of indexes on the disks that the operating system uses to keep track of the data stored on the disk. Low-level format, the sector identification on a disk that the drive uses to locate sectors for reading and writing. Do you know the capacity of a storage medium is measured by the number of bytes it can hold? Kilobyte, that is KB. Megabyte, that is MB, gigabyte, that is GB, terabyte, that is TB, petabyte, that is PB, exabyte, that is EB, and zettabyte, that is ZB. Pen drive is a solid-state storage module that plugs into the computer's USB port, using flash memory chips that hold up to 1 terabyte of data. The solid-state USB drive emulates a hard disk. USB drives are extremely popular for backup as well as data transfer from one machine to another. They can also hold an operating system and be used to boot the computer. Their ever-increasing storage capacities have mostly obsoleted writable CDs and DVDs. Smart Media Card is a credit card or ID card that contains a chip. When inserted into a reader, that is contact card, or held within a few inches of the reader, that is contactless, data are transferred to a central computer, also called a chip card. A smart credit or debit card is more secure. A smart credit or debit card is more secure than the cards with a magnetic stripe because it generates a unique one-time code for each transaction that is impossible to replicate with counterfeit cards. Smart cards can also be programmed to self-destruct if the wrong password is entered too many times. As a financial transaction card, it can be loaded with digital money. SD cards are second-generation multimedia cards. It has the ability to lock and protect the data from being used. It has two variants. Mini SD card. This is used to meet the requirements storing data in smartphones. Micro SD card. It is smaller than Mini SD memory card with all the features as available in Mini SD. Coming to computer classification. Computers may be classified on various parameters like based on their data processing capabilities, according to purpose, data handling, functionality, size, storage capacity, and performance. Analog computer is a device that processes infinitely varying signals, such as voltage or frequencies. A thermometer is a simple analog computer. As the temperature varies, the mercury moves correspondingly. Although special-purpose, complex analog computers are built, almost all computers are digital. Digital methods provide programming flexibility. These computers exhibit features of both digital and analog computers. A hybrid computer system setup offers a cost-effective method of performing complex simulations. These computers serve as controller and provide logical operation. These computers operate with information in the digital form. These computers operate with more accuracy and faster rate. These operate by counting. These computers are used for all general-purpose applications and are used for voluminous data processing work. Mini computers are used by comparatively small business houses. Although they are not as powerful as supercomputers and mainframe computers, but still they are very powerful machines. These are used by big or middle-range companies and production houses. These computers uses a single user and a multi-user concept also. Some examples of mini computers are K202, Texas Instrument TI-990, SDS-92. Mainframe computers are computers used primarily by large organizations for critical applications, bulk data processing such as census, industry and consumer statistics, enterprise resource planning and transaction processing. Supercomputer is fastest computer available. Supercomputers are typically used for simulations in petroleum exploration and production, structural analysis, computational fluid dynamics, physics and chemistry, electronic design, nuclear energy research, and meteorology. Years ago, it took a supercomputer to perform real-time animated graphics, but that changed as high-performance desktop computers become capable of doing the job. Param is first India's supercomputer. Top is a portable computer with an LCD screen. It uses batteries for mobile use and AC power for charging and desktop use. High-end laptops provide nearly all the speed and capabilities of desktop computers. Following are their major features. Today, laptops use high-quality LCD screens and the built-in display system can also feed an external monitor or data projector. Unlike a desktop computer, you cannot replace the display subsystem, so be sure the laptop has the resolution required by the external monitor if you want to connect one. Modern laptops have several USB ports and an external monitor port, making them very flexible for expansion. Either a touchpad or pointing stick is built into the laptop. Try it. There are differences. A regular mouse can always be plugged in. Battery life is critical. The standard battery can usually be replaced with an extended life battery, but that adds more weight. Workstation is any terminal or desktop computer in a network. In this context, workstation is a generic term for a user's machine, that is client machine, in contrast to a server or mainframe. A high-performance single-user machine geared to the professional rather than the consumer. Employed for video editing, computer-aided design, that is CAD, software development, medical imaging, and scientific applications, workstations use a fast multi-core CPU with large amounts of memory, that is RAM and storage. Today, a workstation is typically an x86-based computer running Windows, Linux, or Mac OS X. Server is a computer system in a network that is shared by multiple users. Servers come in all sizes from x86-based PCs to IBM mainframes. A server may have a keyboard, monitor and mouse directly attached, or one keyboard, monitor and mouse may connect to any number of servers via a switch. See KVM switch. In data centers with hundreds and thousands of servers residing in equipment racks, all access is via the network. Handheld is a mobile device, is a small computing device, typically small enough to be handheld, and hence also commonly known as a handheld computer or simply handheld, having a display screen with touch input and or a miniature keyboard. Now let's summarize what we have learnt in this chapter. Talking about the basic terms. Computer is a device that accepts input, processes data, stores data, and produces output, all according to a series of stored instructions. Hardware includes the electronic and mechanical devices that process the data, refers to the computer as well as peripheral devices. Software is a computer program that tells the computer how to perform particular tasks. Network is two or more computers and other devices that are connected for the purpose of sharing data and programs. Peripheral devices are the devices used to expand the computer's input, output, and storage capabilities. Input device is any hardware component that allows users to enter data and instructions. Most commonly used input devices are keyboards, pointing devices like mouse, scanners, image capture devices, and audio capture devices. Output devices are peripheral devices that enable us to view or hear the computer's processed data. These are common output devices like monitor, printer, and speaker. Memory. A computer memory is just like a human brain. It is used to store data and information. Computer memory is the storage space where data and instructions which are to be processed are kept. Memory is primarily of three types: cache memory, primary memory or main memory, and secondary memory. Storage. Storage is permanent holding place for digital data until purposely erased. Various types of storage medium are hard disk, optical disk, flash drive, magnetic tape, cassette tape, punch card, floppy disk, magnetic drum, and paper tape. Computers can be broadly classified in two ways. First is on the basis of operating principles. On this basis, computers can be classified into analog computer, digital computer, hybrid computer. On the basis of size, storage capacity, and performance, computers can be classified into mini computer, microcomputer, mainframe computer, and supercomputer.